probably seen me use this like little pen butane torch thing to cut the plastic on the dash for my DR project and do a little bit of the heat shrink with it. It is a Matco SK8MAT from Matco, whatever you want to call it here. It's an 8-piece kit. It's a nice little kit here for soldering, cutting plastic, torching, like heat shrink, stuff like that you would you don't need a direct flame for. I mean, a lot of heat shrink you just use a lighter and kind of get it, but then you end up smoking it or burning it or melting it a little bit. So I found this on the tool truck at work and I thought I'd grab it. I think it was like 80 bucks from my Matco guy. Honestly, it is one of the best kits that I've ever seen, or that I've ever used, really. I used to be a regular soldering iron type of guy. One of these, you plug it in and you wait for it to heat up, you pull the trigger and you get it going. It just seemed kind of like a little bit of a hassle. This kit, it's awesome because you pretty much just pull it out of here, you hit this trigger, you got to hit the safety here, and then there's a continuous trigger right there. You hold that, it's lit, throw it in there, do what you got to do, get everything set up the way you want it. It has quite a bit of heat that comes out of it, and it's adjustable right here, settings 1 through 4. I always have it cranked up. So refillable butane, you can see there's a little, wait for it to come down, there's a little clear section here where all the fuel is, or the butane is. You can see this is pretty low. So let's grab your butane here. There's a little nozzle on top. You hit that until it kind of starts coming out the top. But you can see it's full. Definitely 100% full there. So we got the new tip on here. Start it up. Let that warm up. You can start to see the ceramic glow in there. You can also look down here. I don't know if I can get, right there, you can see it glowing. Let that heat up. Get your wire here ready to solder. I got some heat, I just got a loop here going, and I got some heat shrink here too. So get this ready to go. The only thing I don't like about this kit is it doesn't come with flux. I like to use a lot of flux because it's acid. I mean, it cleans a lot of stuff and it actually makes a really good solder. So I just always have some spare laying around. I just nail it with that. Just smear it on as much as you can. And you can see this is pretty hot here because I'm just gonna melt all this flux, burn it in there. Grab the solder, load the tip. See, I got a bunch on the tip here. And honestly, like, I do that most of the time. And you just smear it on. It's seriously like, it is one of, honestly, it's like the easiest way to solder. You can get the tip kind of going here and burn it in, but it's really, if you're trying to get into a tight spot, you can always just load the tip up and smear it on there and get a decent, or actually a really good solder to it. And the thing is, it stays hot. It's not like you have to keep pulling the trigger to get it to really just solder well. Yeah, that should be good. Turn it off, you just hit this. Turns it off. The case even comes with a cool little stand that's labeled torch. And I mean, yeah, it does take a little bit being on the road. It kind of stinks when I'm soldering, but I mean, I still have cleanup time, things like that. So I mean, it cools off pretty fast because it's a small unit. Alright, it's cooled down enough. to go into basically shrink wrap mode, I call it. You put the heat shield on. You really don't have to, because you can use it as a torch, but I always like putting the heat shield on, so then when you're kind of in close with a bunch of other wires, like in a wiring harness, things like that, you can get where you're trying to use the torch, but you're not going to be melting anything behind it. So the little shield works pretty well. You got to make sure that this little hole right here is out, even though you're venting out of the very top of it here where all the heat is. You still got to make sure that's out, so then it kind of, you get enough airflow through the whole thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and light it back up, wait a little bit, open a beer. You can see we're kind of glowing red all in there. And we'll get in on this action here. And you can see, like, you can just move right along. It's not gonna... It does pretty damn well. The heat shield also gets kind of heat to the back of the heat shrink here, so you don't have to keep moving around. It does it fairly evenly. You can see it's shrunk a little bit back here already. So, I mean, all in all, this is the Matco LBSI, which is a long barrel soldering iron. I freaking love this thing because, first of all, you don't have a cord coming off the back of it. You're not trying to like trigger or aim anything like a gun in there. So if you're trying to get into tight spots, it's a nice little pen. It's a nice little unit to get in there with it. You can cut plastic with it. You saw me cutting plastic on the my dashboard there. That actually worked mint. I just thought about using it halfway through that episode, so that's a good plus for it. It's warranted. Obviously, it's got a lifetime warranty because it's Matco. It was like 80 bucks, and let's see how much fuel I went through just doing all that. About a quarter of a tank with all of that. And then some of that stuff you didn't see because I edited it out. So, I mean, honestly, you could probably solder 4, I mean, if you got everything laid out and stuff like that, it lasts pretty long on a fill. I've gone through, let's see, this is a 5 1/8 ounce, 145 gram can. This is my fourth or fifth can of this, and I'd say this is about a halfway full still, or half empty, however you look at it. One of the tools I think is very underrated. If you do a lot of wiring, obviously a lot of shrink wrap, any type of plastic welding or plastic cutting, I'm sure this thing will be great because it's mobile, first of all. I mean, I could take it anywhere with me. You don't have to have electricity to use it. All you have to have is an extra can of butane standing by, just in case you need a little bit more fuel. But nice little unit. I definitely suggest it if you do projects, things like this, a little bit of wiring here and there on motorcycles, four-wheelers, ATVs, whatever you want to call it. Think about picking one up. I saw there's like some battery operated ones. I'm not sure how they work because obviously I've only used the soldering guns and this, but I think the heat that comes out of this is awesome. The fact that it's not a torch but it acts like a torch is a super plus for me. And yeah, you don't have to recharge it, you just hit it with some butane. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.